Southeast Asian taboo reappears. The 2024 Indonesian horror film Possession, Kerasukan, is here to thrill. A husband returns from the military, only to find his once gentle and virtuous wife has undergone a complete transformation in her attitude. Not only does she refuse his long-awaited affection, but he also receives cold divorce papers. As the investigation deepens, a third party slowly surfaces. However, what no one expected is that the other party is actually a terrifying entity. The story begins on the day Ferris takes his leave. Having completed a long term on the warship, he is finally ready to embark on the journey home. He longs for the warmth of reuniting with his wife and son, but welcoming him is a wife with a distant look and cold demeanor. Their former intimacy seems more like it's been separated by an invisible wall. Even for the most normal physical needs, Ratna decisively refuses, using her period as an excuse. However, Ferris quickly discovers that behind this alienation lies a truth more terrible than fading feelings. The sanitary pads show no signs of use at all. This indicates Ratna is lying to him, unable to bear it. He confronts his wife, only to be met with an even colder rejection. Her reasons are vague, but her attitude is resolute, as if the husband before her is a stranger. Faced with his wife's icy attitude, Ferris inevitably feels that, during his time in service, a third party must have intervened. Early the next morning, Ferris is woken by sounds coming from the kitchen. When he gets up, he realizes his wife is nowhere to be found, and only his son is alone in the kitchen preparing breakfast. While feeling heartbroken, a knock on the door is heard. He opens it to see his wife's best friend, Mita. Since Ratna has been leaving early and returning late to write her script, she asked her best friend to help pick up and drop off the child. Ferris tries to ask Mita about his wife's recent condition. The answer he gets is that a new director recently joined the crew. He arranged a hotel for Ratna to write in. As for the specific location, Mita isn't clear. Hearing this, Ferris can roughly guess that this so-called director Wahyu is 99% the adulterer. After seeing off Mita and the child, the neighbor, Pak Tony, comes over uninvited. He not only walks into the bedroom, pointing fingers, but also solemnly tells Ferris, "Your Ratna has been entangled by a demon. It is a type of zombie that is completely wrapped up, commonly known as a pokong. It hides in the dark, waiting for a chance to strike, suddenly appearing in front of you from above." Before Pak Tony can finish, Ferris interrupts him. For a military man, this kind of talk is nonsense. Then he finds an excuse to send Pak Tony away. Little does he know that at this moment, the bolster on the bed suddenly morphs into a terrifying face. After sending the neighbor away, Ferris angrily searches the entire house. Finally, he finds Wahyu's phone number, but when he makes the call, he receives a lecture from the other side.
Benar ini dengan Pak Wahyu. Saya Faris, suami Ratna. Apa Ratna ada di sana?
Jangan ganggu. Ratna sedang banyak inspirasi. Jangan suruh dia berhenti. Hasratnya sedang berapi-api. Udah dulu ya.
Faced with this naked provocation, Ferris determines to teach the guy a lesson no matter what. But before that, he still needs to find evidence of his wife's infidelity. Subsequently, in a suitcase, he discovers photos of his wife with the director. Besides the photos, he also sees a hotel ticket stub. But relying on these ordinary photos alone is not enough to convict his wife. Facing this marriage crisis, Ferris decides to take matters into his own hands. Following the clues in the photos, at a bar, he finds that detestable director. However, when Ferris tells him to stay away from his wife, he is once again mocked by the other party. But what is strange is, in Wahyu's words, he seems to care more about the work in Ratna's hands. Suffering from a lack of any evidence, Faris dares not act rashly, so he can only spend a lot of money to hire a private detective, asking him to keep a close eye on Wahyu's every move no matter what. When Ferris returns home, Mita has also rushed back with his son. As his wife's best friend, Ferris doesn't hesitate to pour out his bitterness to her. However, Mita doesn't seem to care about this. She only answers that Ferris is the man who gives her the most desire she has ever seen. After saying that, she takes the initiative to take off Ferris's jacket. Just as the two are about to cross that red line, His son Budi suddenly bursts in and actively asks his dad to help him take a bath. Taking advantage of the opportunity for the father and son to be alone, the father carefully asks about his wife's condition. Budi states that his mother has been very strange lately. She always likes to be alone and doesn't interact with the people around her. Every time she comes home, she locks herself in the bedroom, followed by some strange noises. Before the father can continue questioning, Budi looks nervously at the ceiling, as if facing a formidable enemy. But Ferris sees nothing. At the same time, Ratna also rushes back and takes her son out. After sending Budi back to the bedroom, the two have a fierce quarrel again. The husband does not hesitate to ask his wife if she is having a tryst with Wahyu. Hearing that her husband is investigating her, Ratna immediately loses control of her emotions. It is also at this moment that the mark on the ceiling appears again. The lights in the room flicker with Ratna's emotions. Faced with this situation, Ferris doesn't know what to do either. Soon, Ratna's calling sounds in his ear. The wife, who was just in front of him, disappears in the next second. When the candle in his hand is lit again, Ferris discovers his wife lying on the floor, seeming to be enjoying herself to the fullest. Before Ferris can figure out the situation, Ratna faints again, helpless. He can only carry his wife to the bed to rest. The succession of strange events makes Ferris begin to feel uneasy. However, he soon notices in the mirror that the bolster in his wife's arms seems to have come alive. But when he turns his head to look, there is nothing unusual in front of him. In his opinion, all this seems to be just an hallucination. Time quickly moves to midnight. Ratna hugs the bolster in her hands, emitting bursts of moans. That unbearable sound quickly wakes Ferris up. Seeing this, Ferris hurriedly turns on the light and throws the bolster in his wife's hands to the floor. Only then does Ratna return to calm. At this moment, a rapid telephone ring sounds. Just as Ferris gets out of bed to answer it, the bolster under the bed turns into a wrapped demon. Pokong. Soon he receives a call from the detective and learns that Wahyu has entered that hotel. This makes Ferris certain that his wife and Wahyu have long had a relationship. After hanging up the phone, he angrily wants to find his wife for a confrontation, only to find that his wife has long disappeared. Unexpectedly, Ratna ran off right under his nose to have a tryst with someone else. So he hurriedly runs to the hotel. But when he arrives, he only sees Wahyu alone, admiring Ratna's script on the sofa. He angrily holds a gun, questioning where Wahyu has hidden Ratna. But the other party calmly points to the script and says, "Ratna is right here." Little does he know that this director is only interested in Ratna's script, even to the point of obsession. That's all. Unable to find his wife, Ferris can only rush home. But he learns from his son that Mom has been in the bathroom the whole time. Ferris rushes in immediately, only to see his wife still hugging that bolster, lying in the bathtub covered in blood. Subsequently, he carries his wife back to the bedroom. Everything that has happened recently is too weird, forcing Ferris to re-examine what Pak Tony said. He also tries to get a clue from his son, but Budi hides under the covers without saying a word, as if he has seen something terrible. While the father and son are talking, Ratna has already changed into a red dress, left the house with an umbrella, and got into a taxi heading to the hotel. And her exquisite and sexy outfit inevitably gives the driver crooked thoughts. After continuous testing, the driver actually reaches his hand towards Ratna. Just when he is smugly intoxicated in it, he discovers a terrible figure next to Ratna. Now he is completely panicked. He wanted to abandon the car and flee, but how could the evil spirit let him go easily? And the driver finally pays a painful price for his reckless behavior. But Ratna acts like nothing happened, dancing happily in the rain. Then she walks into a hotel. The detective hurriedly follows after discovering her. But what he doesn't know is, Ratna had already discovered his tracks. So she deliberately makes soul-destroying sounds in the room, luring the detective in. Finally, unsurprisingly, he also succumbs to Ratna's charms. Little did he know that he had fallen into a terrible trap. Just as he took off his clothes and prepared for the next move, the sound of splashing water comes from the bathroom. The man has no choice but to raise his camera, preparing to photograph the real adulterer. As a result, the moment he opens the door, the bloodstains all over the floor tighten his heart. Anyone with discernment knows While the detective is scared back, Ratna also gives him a fierce blow. Then she presses him down on the bed, unleashing a violent outburst. At the same time, the blood falling from above wakes Ferris up. Looking inadvertently, he finally discovers the puddles of bright red liquid on the ceiling. This phenomenon once again confirms Pactoni's words, so he seeks him out without a second thought. After some observation, Pactoni points out the problem directly. This leaves Ferris with no doubts. Then he explains the exorcism steps one by one and agrees that when Ratna returns, the exorcism ritual will begin. Ferris nervously and orderly prepares the items needed for the ritual. As a result, he accidentally finds a videotape in his wife's suitcase, and in the subsequent viewing, he learns the real reason for his wife's change of heart. This is a video of Ratna rehearsing. It records a conversation between his wife and her best friend. It turns out Mita has always coveted Ferris's body. She also said that as long as she gets Ferris for one night, she can grant Ratna a wish. That wish can bring Ratna a brand new sense of excitement. Ratna refused on the spot without thinking. However, the best friend has no shame and started to pester her relentlessly. Finally, she threw out that extremely tempting wish.
Ratna, bukan manusia. Gairah ini yang akan mengubahmu sepenuhnya. Ayolah.
After learning that Mita was behind all this ghosting, Faris runs to the hotel immediately, hoping to save his wife controlled by the demon. Little does he know that Wahyu has already appeared in Ratna's room. Because the manuscript had no follow-up, this made Wahyu desperate, hoping she would finish the rest quickly. And this behavior, bordering on madness, angered the existence hiding in the dark. As the lights in the room flicker non-stop, the stains overhead attack like crazy. The next second, an upside-down evil spirit appears and manipulates Ratna to use the knife in her hand to slit Wahyu's throat on the spot. And the moment he falls from upstairs, he is spotted by Ferris, who is nearby. Realizing that something is wrong, he quickly runs towards the hotel. Faris once again sees that evil bolster and Ratna lying in the bathroom, dying. He can't care about much else at the moment. Ferris quickly saves his wife and brings her home. He not only cleans the bloodstains from his wife's body, but also carefully combs her hair. However, this harmonious scene doesn't last long. Just as Ferris patiently comforts his wife, she suddenly goes berserk again. After pushing Ferris away, she walks into the kitchen. She threatens her husband never to touch her body again. To demonstrate her resolve, she actually slashes her own artery. Ferris knows very well that all of this is manipulated by the evil spirit. After bandaging his wife, Ferris immediately sets up the room and asks Pactoni to perform the exorcism ritual. Pactoni holds the scripture, chanting incessantly, and says the first step is to examine Ratna's private parts. After speaking, he reaches towards Ratna. There is no demon in there.
Tidak ada setan di dalam situ.
At this moment, a rapid knock on the door sounds. Pactoni takes the opportunity to find an excuse to trick Ferris into leaving the room. Seeing that it is Mita bringing his son back, Faris's rage instantly hits the limit. He hurriedly questions Mita about what she did to his wife. He also states that regarding Mita's dirty desires, he can agree to them, but only if she saves his wife. After speaking, he kisses her. Just as the two are entangled, the evil spirit appears again. It immediately burrows into Mita's body. In an instant, Mita completely loses control. After injuring Ferris, she runs out of the building. Then, on the street in the pouring rain, she crawls grotesquely. Under the twisted manipulation of the evil spirit, she runs into a tunnel. The cold concrete platform in the tunnel becomes Mita's final altar. Meanwhile, Pactoni, who is performing the exorcism in the room, is up to no good either. After sending Ferris away, he reveals his beastly nature, just as he attempts to force himself on her. Faris realizing something is wrong, bursts in. Seeing the scene before him, Ferris is completely furious. Just as the two are fighting, Ratna is once again controlled by the evil spirit. The next second, the surroundings plunge into complete darkness. When Ferris lights the candle again, he finds that his wife has disappeared from the bed again. Paktoni tries to flee, but the evil spirit appears again the next second and enters Paktoni's body. Soon, he also loses complete control, just like Mita. Then he runs into the living room and frantically slams his head against the wall. Seeing this, Ferris seizes the opportunity. He vows to avenge the assault on his wife, so he forcefully grabs the man's head and slams it hard against the wall until he stops breathing. The story does not end here. Soon, his wife's voice comes from the bedroom again. Ferris walks closer to look. The scene before him shocks him to the core. He sees the evil spirit lying on his wife, doing indescribable things. Ferris's mind completely collapses at this moment. At the end of the film, Ratna is dressed gorgeously, appearing in the center of the stage, while Ferris and the others who died have forever become the permanent audience admiring this family tragedy. Thus, the film ends. This is Movie Brief's commentary. See you next time.